Hello everyone, and welcome to our Awin and SingleView webinar on the future of affiliate attribution. My name is Rob Davinson and I'll be your host today, and I work in Awin's global strategy team. Thanks for taking the time to attend today's session, and special thanks to Mark Kuhillow from SingleView and Eilidh Whyte from AO for participating in the event today. I'll get to more formal introductions a little later, but it's safe to say both Mark and Eilidh will be sharing some hugely useful insights on the topic of attribution with you all. Our Q&A is now open for your questions, so please do feel free to share any and all of your questions on today's topic with us. If you want to direct a question specifically to Mark or to Eilidh, then be sure to mention them by name and we'll get those questions to them. But to get things started, I wanted to set the scene and to quickly explore just a couple of the common dilemmas that affiliate marketers tend to face in the current e-commerce landscape when it comes to attribution, before then handing over to Mark, who will talk a bit about how SingleView can help solve these issues. And then finally, he'll ask Eilidh a few questions about how AO have put the multi-touch attribution solution to work in the real world and some of the results that they've actually seen off the back of adopting it. So, one of the major dilemmas that we come up against is the natural complexity of the customer journey and figuring out how to identify that moment where a customer comes to a decision to purchase a product or a service online. Was it the PPC ad for a pair of black shoes, for instance? Was it the affiliate content site's article about summer fashion trends? Or perhaps it was a coupon site that offered a specific incentive for that particular product. There are so many different channels and ad formats that consumers now interact with on their way towards an eventual conversion. And each interaction arguably plays a role in determining whether that shopper buys from your brand or not. Now, Google actually published a really fascinating white paper last year on precisely this topic called Decoding Decisions, which looked at how shoppers browse and research products online. And they labeled this whole space of exploration and evaluation that takes place before the conversion as the messy middle, which I think is probably an enormously apt and accurate description, and one which really helps to illustrate the size of the task at hand. Now, even once you're able to disentangle the various threads of that messy consumer journey, you then face the issue of ascribing value to the touch point that you think played the most valuable role during that journey. And that's compounded by the fact that different marketing teams in the same business sometimes may be operating in silo, perhaps using different tracking platforms or metrics for assigning value to their activity. And as a consequence, it becomes impossible to get an overarching holistic viewpoint on all of your marketing activity and how effective it is when working together. Now, for those companies still relying on last click models, there are inevitable biases towards certain partner types that sit closer to the conversion, and there's a degree of neglect arguably around the brand building and awareness value that sits maybe further up the funnel that other partners may well be generating but not necessarily being rewarded on. And even for those that are using affiliate attribution solutions, many of these lack the granular level of data that enables marketers to make really well-informed decisions around which partnerships are helping to drive incrementally valuable sales and that are best aligned with their company's specific goals as well. And that leaves you with a host of unanswered questions around which partners you should be investing your ad budget in, and how your affiliate program can work most effectively in tandem with your business's other marketing channels as well. So these questions can vary from anything like certain incentive might be, for instance, or whether you're fairly rewarding those content partners, to understanding actually how does the affiliate channel activity actually how might it be affecting activity in other marketing channels that you've got going on as well. So now that I've provided more questions than answers, I'm going to gladly hand you over to a man that can hopefully help resolve them. So Mark, over to you.
Thanks very much, Rob. No pressure there. Hi, everybody. My name's Mark. I'm the CEO of SingleView. As Rob's talked about, SingleView unpacks where the value is in a user journey. What we can show you with the next slide is how we came about answering that question. Now, the reason we actually built SingleView is we were an agency and we were deploying campaigns, and there was affiliate campaigns, there was other channels, and what we needed to be able to understand was where's the value and where's the budget going, and we faced the challenge that many agencies and many advertisers face, which is, well, does the money need to go into affiliate? Does the money need to go into paid search? Does it need to go into social? Does it need to go into email? So the attribution question actually started at a much higher level than just affiliate. So if we can move on to the next slide, what you'll be able to see is we can actually look at fractionally breaking down the value to each different channel, to each different campaign, and to each different placement, and that can be a publisher, it can be an ad group, it can be an email, it can be whatever it needs to be. But by doing that and using an algorithm to assign the value on a data-driven basis, we can have a look at where we should be best placing budget and where value is being driven. So we're not just using a linear approach, which is first click or last click. And last click was created in the 90s when we hadn't even had the year of mobile that we spent 10 years waiting for. So there are so many touch points these days, and there are so many journeys, and there are so many devices. And it's a completely different landscape to be using such an outdated model. So this is how we're able to ascertain where the value lies, and it's how we're working with marketers to understand how we actually go about delivering that value. So when we then start to look at the questions, and if we just dive into the affiliate question particularly, what are the incrementality indicators? Everybody asks, are affiliates incremental? My CMO thinks that they just sit at the end of the journey and we would have got those sales anyway. Well, when we use a methodology I'm going to talk about in a second, you're able to actually see, would that sale have happened or not? Content affiliates, people in different stages of the funnel, content affiliates sit much higher up, and they may bear no relationship to the final conversion point that a user goes through. How are they rewarded? How are publishers or advertisers supposed to work with them? Placements, where should I invest budgets? Where should I invest tenancies? Should I put a tenancy on a homepage, or should I put it in an email, or should I sponsor an email? Discount codes, there are beliefs within businesses that discount code, well, that would have got used anyway, so therefore let's not use it. But where does it sit in the path? Is it right at the end, or is it higher up? And how does affiliate play with other channels? If affiliate is in a conversion, is there a greater chance of conversion? Is there a lower chance of conversion? And what are those other channels? Does affiliate work really well with paid search, or does it work really well with email? And if it's with email, what are the particular channels? What's the relationship with CSS and Google Shopping? So there are loads of questions that we get asked on a weekly basis when we check in with our clients or when they use our platform. And in essence, I'll talk about now how SingleView works. And I'm not a techie, but my way of understanding it is, if you view all of the traffic coming into your site or into an advertiser's site, I view it all as a fire hose. So it's coming in and you've just got this vast amount of traffic just pouring in and all different deep link, homepage, wherever it's going to. The first thing that we do is we've developed proprietary methods and software which categorize it all. So we understand, right, well, this traffic's coming from Google Ads, and then we can drill it down and understand which ad groups and which keywords are driving that traffic. And then we do that across everything. So we end up categorizing all or virtually all of the traffic that goes into a website. What we then do is we baseline it. So the way that I imagine this is we almost create a pulse for the website. So we understand how that website behaves and how the traffic flows across it. Because we've then categorized that traffic, we can then start to say, right, well, if we take this particular channel out or we invest more in this channel, what does that do to the baseline? Does it make the site convert better? Does it, does this particular pocket of traffic give us better return on investment? So that's in a very simple way how we categorize the traffic coming in, how our game theory algorithm works, and then how our analysts work with that information. So in terms of what does that actually mean for advertisers, the biggies that we get asked are, what's incremental? So we've created a range of incrementality indicators. So for affiliates in particular, what's the AOV if an affiliate's involved? And quite often, there's a perception that affiliates will sit at the end of a journey. So did the affiliate introduce the user to the advertiser, or was it actually a solo revenue if the journey took place just using affiliates? So to answer those questions, what we're going to do is have a quick look at, let's have a look at AOV first. So firstly, by categorizing the different genres, we can see here that the website averages at £55. Once we drill in, we can see, well, interestingly here, cashback's actually driving an AOV of $60. $55, sorry. Cashback's driving $60, and you've also got voucher delivering $57. So these two categories are actually indexing above average. So if we're looking at making further investments, we can then drill in and actually have a look at which particular publishers are driving these increased AOVs, and then that's where budget will follow, and we can maximize the return from that. In the same way, we can have a look at where publishers are sat on the path to conversion. So if we start at the top, we can actually have a look here, and we can actually see that certain publishers, publisher one, for example, is doing a fantastic job of introducing users to this journey, and this is on a cross-channel basis. So these are users who would not have found this advertiser had they not worked with this publisher. But using a last click model, this publisher would never have been recognised for its contribution to the journey. So we're now able to incentivize this publisher to drive more new users. In the same way that as we slide down the scale to the bottom, there are publishers who do sit at the end, and that will influence potentially the commissions or the investment that go into that publisher. And we can also have a look at tenancies. So when we're spending money with tenancies, so here's an example of some social ads which were spent with a particular advertiser. We did there was some display advertising done through social, which was done, and there was also some campaign exposure. And what we can see here is not only is there an uplift, but the composition of the users changes whilst the activity is ongoing. So more revenue is driving, that's blatantly obvious, but we're also driving more solo touch revenue. So there is unique audience which these publishers have. So there is definitely value, and in terms of looking at the future and how we're using this almost as an affiliate planning tool within this particular channel, these are the types of investment decisions which advertisers are now making. So in summary, what am I saying? How do we work with people? Well, we take a brief. It's a pretty basic place to start, and I suppose it goes back to our agency roots. But what's the brief, and is there a better way of allocating budget? Then let's have a look at the metrics which make a difference. In this case, incrementality. And then we have a look at which publishers have delivered the strongest performance. In this case, it was over the first couple of days prior to Cyber Weekend. So what did it mean when advertisers implemented the learnings which SingleView offered them? There was a 5% increase in the affiliate program revenue. There was a saving. The CPA came down and ROAS went up. So everyone's a winner. The same budget was spent within the channel, or more budget was spent within the channel, but it was spent more efficiently. And it was spent more efficiently because it was spent using better data more granular data, which advertisers, unless they've previously been investing vast amounts into certain platforms, are now able to do. A SingleView is almost democratizing multi-touch attribution data. That's enough of me trying to sell it. But what I'd like to do is bring Eilidh Whyte, who's an advertiser using it from AO, and have a chat with Eilidh about Eilidh. Welcome.
Hello, thanks. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Most important question: how much have you enjoyed working with SingleView so far?
It's been great. It's been great. I think we've probably been working with them. I was trying to map it out. I think possibly about 9 months, but it's really, really lovely that I am kind of seeing the team at SingleView as the kind of extension to the team. We're being as open and transparent as possible. And as you said, mentioning things like talking about tenancies together and really working closely with each other. So it's been really lovely.
Excellent. I'm very pleased to hear that, and I shall. As I say, I'll pass the comments on to the team, but they're probably watching at the moment. AO are quite an interesting animal as far as our clients go, because you've already got an attribution solution which the business uses at a global sort of cross-channel level. How does SingleView sit within that, alongside that? How does that work for you?
So it was obviously something I was a bit hesitant about to begin with, because I was thinking, what is this for? Why would we? What's the benefit to us really? And I think it kind of boils down to kind of a couple different things. One thing is, because we have an attribution model and we have so much data available to us, you can't analyze all the data all the time, whether it be forecasting what we think will happen, or with a new partner, or analyzing what we have done in the past. Sometimes nobody has all the time to analyze everything you want to. So what SingleView has been really great at and helping us with is analyzing those things that we might not necessarily have time to do in-house. And as you said, leaning on that agency background of yours, really helping us to find insights that are usable, and things that we might not necessarily have time to look at ourselves in an attribution model. Because obviously there are things that Awin can help us out with as well, but as a company who has an attribution model already, the insights we get from SingleView are more kind of, I suppose, understood by our commercial team, by our wider business, because there's that attribution model which is relatively closely aligned to what we use as well. And then I think possibly the other thing that we found really awesome and really helpful for us is doing a few of those gap analysis pieces. Obviously everything is anonymized, but looking at what our competitors are doing, and working with SingleView to get that view of what our competitors are doing with certain partners and certain exposure pieces that we don't have visibility of otherwise. So as a bit of an example, something we worked on with SingleView a couple months ago, and what we love, and again, as you were kind of mentioning, we love giving that client briefing, giving SingleView a challenge, and them coming back with some awesome insights for us. And one of those briefs that we gave was, can you look into student sites in the UK? Now, there are a few different big student sites in the UK, and most of them ask for exclusivity. So therefore, we had to make a decision as to who do we launch. They're not easy to launch. There's a lot of integration involved, super high discount codes. There's a lot of time and money spent on launching a student site, or launching with a student site, sorry. And we really worked closely with SingleView to say, can you go away, find out how our competitors are working with them, how the competitor activity looks in the attribution model, in the SingleView model, and then we can use those insights and have that data-led argument to go to our wider business to go, this is why we think we should go with these people over these people. And we really have used those insights. So those are just a couple things that we've been working with that wouldn't have been possible just with our own model.
I was going to say, so would it have been as easy to create those commercial business cases with finance without that level of insight?
For the gap analysis, no, because we don't have that data available. Obviously, Awin can help us with data with gap analysis, but that's in a last click model. So as a company who have an in-house attribution model, we need our arguments to also be in an attributed way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So if I asked you to pin down what you would see as being the key benefits of SingleView, what would you say?
So it's really nice to see what you spoke about in the slides, because one of the main differences I saw was, as I said, data is available to all of us nowadays. We have all the data in-house, but I think the huge benefit that you guys should see in yourselves is your people. So I love that you already mentioned that, because that's what's been really awesome, having that extension to the team. We've loved working with kind of data-minded account managers who have that. I always think the way I explain or to be good at affiliates or to succeed in affiliates, I always think it's kind of 50% data analysis, 50% relationship management. And therefore, I love that the SingleView account managers and team that we're working with over there have this data mind and looking at the data and finding out insights from the data that help us give these really, really strong arguments as to why we should or should not do something. So yeah, love that you already mentioned that, because that's exactly what I was going to say. I think that is one of the main, or one of the big things that you should be proud of and differentiates you. That's
really kind, thank you. And I do think that's one of the areas where we're a little unique. We never set out to build an attribution platform. It just happened because we wanted a planning tool to help us make decisions more effectively. And by plugging in that level of expertise with the platform, it's great to hear that it makes sense, and well done to the team. So I suppose at a global level, how does it help sort of manage overall budgets more effectively across the program?
Yeah, so we work really closely with our commercial team, who fundamentally hold the purse strings, and they are commercially minded. They are data driven, have that brain, and care less about the relationship management part. That's my part. That's the part I'm dealing with the data, and I'm kind of figuring out both parts of it. But what's been really great is actually having that argument and having that data-driven argument to go to the wider business and say, look, this is why we think we should or should not do this. And it really has already moved around our budget. And even if something might not, I think, especially if it's a new partner, if we have no data for that partner so far, then SingleView can possibly help us out with what our competitors are doing again, or how it has performed for them. And then we can actually show numbers to the people that are fundamentally signing off the budget to go, the reason it's going to cost this amount is because it can bring in this number, because our competitors have seen similarly. But yeah, it really has helped us to get approval for things that otherwise might have been quite scary. SingleView has also helped us kind of analyze historical exposure that we've been running, obviously, to say, look, remember when we did that last time, SingleView have showed us that actually they had a lot of first and only clicks within that exposure piece we ran. So that's a huge, big argument as to why we should continue to spend money on this. So yeah, a couple different things.
So it was the incrementality indicators that we use. One of the things that I touched on before is the user journeys these days are so complex, and that there's almost no uniformity to it. A lot of companies are wanting to adopt a sort of holistic marketing strategy these days. Have you got any examples how you've been able to apply that?
Yeah, so it's been something really exciting we've been working on again, probably since the start of this year. So we work, and we are continuing to work really closely with CSS partners, who I had never worked with before in this role. I think to a lot of affiliate managers, CSS can be a bit nerve-wracking and scare affiliate managers, but also scare PPC teams. So the only way that we have successfully grown our CSS partners has been by our team and PPC working so closely together, looking at the mix between in-house PLA or Google Shopping and what the CSS partners can do for us. Neither myself nor our head of PPC has been precious, really. We haven't been precious about, this is our traffic, this is our traffic, this is our revenue. Oh, you can't steal my cost, you've increased my bids. Oh no, they can't. We haven't done any of that. It's been very holistic, and we've really worked together to say, what is the best way to get the total incremental revenue, adding up PLA and in-house PLA, sorry, and CSS partners, and it's just grown from strength to strength, and still looking in that attribution model to go, okay, well, the cost percent is better with them at this time, better with them at this time. Okay, we need more profit now, and really, really working closely with that team and with commercial. So it's been really, really awesome, and the first time I've done it in my career, and it's something I would definitely look to do again. And I think, as I said, the only way it's happened is by neither of us being precious about our channels and really seeing what would be best for the business rather than siloing your channels off.
That's actually really special. You don't often hear stories like that because people normally are protecting their own silos. Do you think that you were able to have that collective trust because you had a uniform currency which you could arbitrate around?
Yeah. We're all looking at the same numbers, so rather than it being revenue over there or the A1 numbers versus the GA numbers or whatever, we're all looking at the same attribution model. So yeah, absolutely, we can't deny the facts. We can't say, okay, it's done better, the cost percent is better over there today, the cost percent is better over there today. So we're looking at the same data source, and yeah, that's been a huge reason why it has worked. It's
almost as if you've almost got a single view.
Exactly. Great. I think you needed to get that in somewhere.
So, how do you see single view being incorporated long term then?
I think I'm looking forward to just continuing to work closer and closer together. As I said, AO has massive growth plans. And as AO continues to grow, there are more and more things that we would like to analyze. There are more and more things that we would like insights on. And as I said, as much as the company's growing and employees here are growing, we also need to be able to lean on agencies and lean on people like SingleView to really help us delve into those questions that we want answered and we might not necessarily have time to answer ourselves. And also you guys have the resources and the setup and facilities to get those answers pretty quickly for us.
That's great to hear. There's a lot of agencies here today, and there's also a lot of advertisers here today. Well, we built this as an agency planning tool before migrating purely over to tech. What advice would you give to brands and agencies who are considering using SingleView to be to improve their effectiveness?
I think you kind of mentioned things like talking about tenancies and things, and that only happens with us working closely together and being open and honest. So sometimes it's difficult for brands and retailers to kind of give up all that data and be as open and honest and, oh, there's nerves, okay, can we allow them to see this, can we not allow them to see this, are they going to share it with someone else? But the only way that we've been able to find useful insights and usable insights is by sharing as much information as we have on top of what is already tracked through the tracking links and everything, but really working closely and saying, and again, even being honest with the insights and going, okay, well, that's not quite what we were looking for. Can we pivot? Can we get this answer? And actually the teams going away and us going away and going, okay, is that helpful? Okay, SingleView going away. Okay, let's see if we can find a different answer for that question. So we've really worked closely and both sides have been really honest. And even SingleView turning around to us and going, well, that's not possible, or we can't do that. So yeah, I think that's the one thing and one suggestion. Really use the resources as much as you can and open and ideas, kind of bounce around those ideas. That's something we do quite often with the team, to say, what are our ideas? What questions would we like answered? But also SingleView giving us ideas as well to say, we've just done something recently with another client, not going to say what client, but we've done something recently with the client. They found it really insightful. You might also find that insightful. So that's been another thing that I would definitely suggest. Listen to their ideas as well as giving your own ideas.
Thank you very much, Eilidh. Hugely appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. I think it's back with me now. So thank you so much for that conversation. We did have some time for questions from the audience as well. We haven't had many so far, so I'm guessing that your interview there, your discussion has covered pretty much all the bases as far as attribution are concerned. We did have one question that's come in, more to do with tracking rather than attribution necessarily, but a question came in: how will the changes to browser tracking / third-party cookies coming from the likes of Safari and Google, etc., impact affiliate marketing? And is Awin prepared for this? I'll take that question. But I would actually be interested to get your input actually from your individual perspectives on that. So from an advertiser and more from an attribution solution provider's perspective as well, Mark. And but from Awin's perspective, we've been preparing for this for longer than you would probably imagine. In some ways, we third-party tracking hasn't been. It's been kind of a fallback model for us to kind of historically have used. And first-party tracking has been the kind of process or the particular model that we've used for some time now. The advertiser master tag was introduced all the way back in 2009. Actually, it was developed, and that kind of enabled us to provide that form of tracking. And the introduction of the publisher master tag now has enabled us to offer a totally new solution called bouncers tracking, which is, as far as I'm aware, unique to us within the industry. But what I'd also say from a broader industry level is that affiliate is inherently a very data light tracking model. It's not kind of prone to using third-party cookie information in the same way that maybe other advertising models might be. Like we know around programmatic display, there's been lots of speculation and lots of kind of impact there so far from some of the browsers that have made those changes. There's a really, what I would recommend checking out actually if you're interested in this, and particularly in Awin's perspective on this topic. Adam Ross, our CEO, just took part in a podcast interview with eMarketer's podcast Behind the Numbers, where he was asked about this particular topic in question. And it was interesting. He actually talked about the fact that we were almost a little bit disappointed by Google's decision to postpone the changes that they're doing within Chrome at the moment to 2023, because the affiliate channel, like I said, broadly speaking, is well set up and well prepared for advertisers to continue with that activity. And there was maybe a little bit of hope that we might see more investment come our way with Chrome implementing those changes, maybe away from other ad channels or ad models, for instance, and into the secure environment that affiliate can offer them. But yeah, Mark, from your perspective, have you seen any changes in the ability to kind of measure or attribute affiliate or other channels marketing spend because of some of these changes in tracking?
No, I'd say I've got two main comments on that. It's not that we've seen changes. I think firstly, one point which I didn't mention, but SingleView operates entirely on first-party data. So from that perspective, we're well insulated. The advertiser owns the data, and there's absolutely there's no threat to the cookies that are being dropped. The other point, which and again I might to a greater or lesser degree share Adam's sentiment about the delay, and it was a bit of a shame, is the GDPR states that analytic cookies have fallen under the category of being essential services. So again, we were operating on a first party basis, and secondly, we'd been deemed to be essential. So we knew it was never in question that we were going to lose any of the data which we get. It would, if anything, have probably just enriched our perspective. But my own view is, I think from a monopolistic basis, it's probably not a bad call that it's been delayed. It was worrying as to what it would have done to certain sectors. For example, display. It would have shut down an industry overnight. Yeah.
And Eilidh, from your perspective, I don't know if you have an opinion on this at the moment. If you've seen any impact at all, how's it faring at AO?
I think it's one of those things. I think, as you said, Awin, you've been preparing for it for long enough. It's kind of inevitable. We can't stop it. We are obviously just trying to prepare and trying to make sure that we have all of the most modern solutions integrated possible, so that we don't lose any of that tracking. But yeah, it's something we can't really fight, so we have to work with it. We have to go with the change.
Yeah, definitely. We have had a second question actually. So what is the integration process to get this set up, presumably SingleView set up? And also, does it need to be integrated across all marketing channels, or can it be focused on just affiliate partners, Mark?
Okay, how SingleView works is we track site-wide. So we track all of the activity across a site. There's only 2 pixels that need to go down, and everything is tracked, because in order to understand the value of any particular channel, we need the holistic data set. In terms of how we do that, there's 2 main routes. We can either be deployed through the affiliate master tag, which Awin have got on the site, which, if it's been correctly implemented, is very, very little work for the advertiser. If that's not a route, then we can have a direct integration. But the optimal route is via the master tag, which really means, in theory, we should be plug and play.
And was it a fairly seamless process for you, Eilidh?
Yep, pretty much. We migrated to Awin in November, and apart from checking that the data looked okay, yeah, it was pretty easy from my point of view.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I think that pretty much rounds things off for today. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope the sessions help to shed some light on what is undoubtedly a complex topic, but one that I think solutions like SingleView are helping to simplify, and they're also providing advertisers with more control over their attribution dilemmas. Thanks to both Mark and Eilidh for sharing their perspectives on it all. And if you'd like to hear or find out more about how Awin can help you with your own attribution dilemmas through SingleView, then please do head over to awin.com/SingleView, or feel free to reach out to myself or Mark on LinkedIn as well. In the meantime, have a great day.